you are doing well out there. Thanks for tuning in with us. Those of you jumping on live, I know that you are real alive and well today because you're popping on the channel to see what's going on. And I'm super grateful for that. As many as the things that are going on in the airwaves today, the fact that you saw to pause and to stop and to come check out what we're up to, so grateful. If you're watching the replay of this, I'm thankful for you as well. If you're tuning in live, thank you for tuning in as well. We got folks that are joining in from Facebook, from YouTube, both those platforms. I just want to say thank you. We're going to be on a little bit later today on Instagram as well, talking about this conversation of healthy cultures. And it is tricky. And I would say throughout my career, have had the opportunity to be around some really great cultures and learn from the best of the best, and also see some that aren't as great. The conversations aren't as great. The communication isn't as good. And I'm just a student of it. And wouldn't say I perfected it by any stretch of the imagination. None of us really have, but what we can do is each and every day get up with a refreshed, renewed desire to serve people and to start the conversations and put in systems and practices that are just going to help people grow. That is our intent. And we have a lot of products and services at Elevate that help do just that. Again, the corner of our market is we help brands tell their story. We're a brand experience agency that has this passion and desire to help when you gather your people together, whether that's live or virtually, to do something that really matters. So the hearts of your people are excited, that they smile, and their customers will then in turn rave about their service. And we have a stud, a celebrity, and he is not on the line right now, and he's smiling because I can see, don't put him on yet. Don't put him on just yet. I can see him smiling on the stream right here. If you're wondering where I'm looking at right there, I'm looking over at Jason Anthoine, and I see him smiling right now. Look at him. You can't see him yet, but I can. He looks amazing. And listen, let me read this whole entire dissertation of how awesome this guy is. And once he gets on, I'm going to kind of be quiet. I'm going to toss out a few questions and let him rock it. But really, Jason is someone who's been a friend of Elevate and really has become someone we look up to on how organizations can figure out their communication systems, how they can care for their people, how they can not just put more red tape in place, but put more heart set type stuff in place. And Jason is the managing founder of Audacity, a consulting firm focused on employee engagement, internal communications, and culture change. With more than 30 years of experience. His career includes global communications for GE Energy Management, small company, an $8 billion manufacturer of energy, Newell Brands, internal communications for Southwire Company. Oh, yes, small brands like the Coca-Cola Company, Crown Plaza Hotel and Resorts, Johnson & Johnson, Mars Chocolate North America, and Time Warner Cable. Listen, I could read this entire thing, but just know that every time we bring somebody on live, it's because we're learning something from them, and we have a whole lot to learn. And so I'm going to bring the man on. Jason, are you there?
I am here. Thank you very much. Good to see you.
I love it. So glad you're with us. And folks that are tuning in on YouTube and Facebook, we're putting this conversation together to really talk about healthy organization, how that translates to not just the game you play, although that's important, not just the keynote speaker you invite because the information is important, but just the ongoing communication process. And so I know I missed a lot of things in between and the things you've accomplished in your career, but the folks that are tuning in, what do you want them to know about you?
Well, I think it's interesting. You know, I love what y'all do around culture, particularly as it expresses itself through employee experience type events, because when you think about employees and culture and employee experience, you know, a lot of people, particularly in internal comms and HR, think about those in terms of transactions. So everything feels kind of transactional. We're going to onboard them. We're going to train them. We're going to promote them. We're going to deliver an intranet. We're going to deliver some special events. All of those feel transactional for us in the business, but for employees, those things feel relational. All of those things are a way to build relationships. And so the more we can focus on how those transactions lead to those relationships, I think the more powerful we can be as trusted advisors in the roles that we play for our organizations. And so we can always think about how employees feel and what they want out of these things, and not necessarily, you know, exactly what it is that we want to deliver to them. It's all about them. It's all about them.
Yeah, it is all about them. And in this climate with the pandemic and COVID-19, and I think we're on day like 78 or 79 or day 80 somewhere, whatever part of the country or world that you're in, the world is flipped upside down. And so I'm really curious to hear your thought process in the middle of the pandemic, what you're thinking about, maybe just a couple hacks that you've learned and how the best companies are communicating well. So take me wherever you want to take me, but I don't know if you're like me, is business has slowed down from a rapid pace as much as we were doing as an agency.
Sure.
It's allowed us to really step back and be thoughtful about what we do, which is why we're having things like this live to be able to share some insights that we're learning. So from your perspective, what is the pandemic doing and what are you learning right now?
Well, same thing for me, and I think for everybody in our space who are consultants or agencies or trusted partners. It feels like, a lot of our clients are handling a lot of things themselves, which is the way we all like for it to be. We want them doing the right things and doing the best things. But I think the opportunity there for us and for them is to learn about what everybody's doing so that you aren't just kind of guessing in the dark about the types of things that are working and who's doing what and how things are resonating, so that we can all kind of learn and share together as we do our best to work through this and really make some adjustments that, from my perspective, have been long overdue. So back in December, we started this What Employees Want global survey. And on that survey, we asked employees all over the world what exactly it is that they want, what they need from their employers, particularly from a communications and culture perspective. And prior to this crisis, we were able to get in a lot of great data. And then during this crisis, same types of questions. We didn't change the questions at all because, those types of concepts don't really change depending on what's going on. And what's been fascinating is that before and during this crisis, what employees say they want has stayed exactly the same. And the primary thing that they expect from communications and culture within their organization is, I want to feel connected. I want to feel connected to the company. I want to feel connected to my work. I want to feel connected to the community inside the company. And I want to feel connected to our customers and what we're doing in the world. And that hasn't changed. That has not changed.
Just to pause you right there. Do you feel like that should be a reframe or refocus for anybody watching? So if you're tuning in from Facebook or from YouTube, how would you say that connection point? I love that hasn't changed. And I would agree with that. My experience with our company and some folks that I've talked to, there are CEOs, founders, executives, that connection's there. What are you seeing since that hasn't changed? What are brands doing to actually still make that happen?
Well, it's been interesting because, there's been this real push into high tech. And so webinars and texting and apps and intranets and all kinds of things, particularly as people have started, moving to work from home. And so what I've seen happening a lot is this focus on this high tech part of the communications thing. But what I've also seen is that in this push for high tech, a lot of organizations have not forgotten that it's high touch that really matters the most. And so even though a lot of their communications are now being forced through these high tech channels in ways that they weren't probably doing before, because most of that tended to be face to face, even in the wake of all this high tech stuff, the ones who are doing it really well are remembering that it's all about the high touch. It's not just that we can reach you, it's what we say and how we connect with you once we do.
Yeah, Andy Stanley, who was part of LeaderCast, our team got to host that this last week. He said this phrase, we've been saying it a lot as a team, but his number one point was leaders need to make sure that their voice is heard, not just their words. And so how can we get our voice out that much more? And I think that I experienced that this weekend. I went out to eat for the first time in, 2.5 months. We went to Macaroni Grill. There's only 50 people allowed in, and they had brand new systems in place. And we got to actually sit in a restaurant and order. And as the waiter was giving us our food, I looked at him. I just said, hey, I want to say thank you for being open. Wherever you're at watching this, whether we should be open or not, there's a bunch of controversy there. But I just told him, I said, thank you for being open. And I just want you to know your work matters, and I'm grateful. And it was like, dude started tearing up at the table, right? And it was amazing and that was just one little moment with the waiter at a restaurant. But I feel like that much more, the empathy and the in-person communication, as much as you possibly can, is important. We all still need that. I don't think we all should just go, let's all work from home, work virtually. That sounds really good.
Right.
Ultimately, we need to interact with people. We desire community, right?
That's right. I think that's exactly right. And I love that acknowledgement that somebody was, potentially putting themselves at risk on behalf of the brand so that they could deliver that experience to you the customer. And I think that acknowledgement goes a really long way in helping people feel connected and appreciated. Before all of this, it feels like a lot of leaders would start out a town hall or a meeting or anything with, "What are you doing?" And the ones who are doing it really well right now, starting off all those conversations with, "How are you doing?"
Yeah.
And
So
you
good.
sort of get to that heart of the human side of it and the empathy there that we need to be expressing and feeling and acknowledging before we get to the actual work that we're trying to accomplish as a team.
Yeah, and I love it. And those of you that are tuning on Facebook or YouTube, we got Jason Anthoine here, founding partner of Audacity, and really an expert, a pioneer in the area of communication and internal culture and organizational health, and how things can actually take to the next level. And so I love this conversation so far. And before we actually went live, we had one moment where you just said, "Hey, Billy, there's two things that every brand should think about. There's simply two things that as you're growing your business, these are the things." And I love that you boiled it down to two things. I'm a pretty simple guy. Those of you watching on Facebook or YouTube that have seen me online, you probably know I'm a pretty simple guy to start with. But
Right.
I like that you boiled it down. What are those two things, and unpack those a little bit for our listeners?
So the two things, from my perspective, that employees care the most about right now are their lives and their livelihoods. So from a communications and culture and experience perspective, what are we doing to address those two things? So employees are focused on their lives, their families, their friends, their relatives, anybody who's part of their personal lives, and how all of this is impacting them, from working from home to, am I going to go back to the office? Do I feel like going back to the office, even if they ask me to? Those types of things. And so they're focused on their lives and they're focused on their livelihood. So how are we going to move forward as a company? How are we going to figure out how to work together as a team? What is it that our customers are now going to expect from us that's totally different from what that might have been, 3 months ago? And so all the focus right now is on their lives and their livelihood. So as much as we can, as communicators and HR people and folks responsible for culture and employee experience, what can we do to address those two things first and foremost with every touch point that we have?
Yeah, that's so good. And there's so many pressures now, and I'm empathetic towards founders and CEOs and people that are leading the business. There's so much more on their plate too. And I can tell for me, I was watching a webinar today about how to properly use the PPP that we received, making sure that goes 75% towards payroll, 25% towards rent and expenses. And if you overspend, you get overcharged for this. And if this doesn't happen, you don't do it within 8 weeks, then you get charged for this. I'm like, I don't know.
All kinds of new challenges, of new challenges that our leaders are wrestling with right now.
Yeah. And so it's that much more important for all of us to lean in with empathy towards each other. I'm sensing this more with my team here at Elevate and brands that we work with, of just trying your best to have the most honest conversation early. If you do need to let somebody go or furlough someone, or there's so many complexities in all of it. And there's so many dynamics. Like, how do you, this is for me. And if you're watching, this isn't for you. This is for me. How do you be forthright and forthcoming and say, like, hey, we're gonna go full speed. We're gonna win this thing. We're gonna go for it. And hey, by the way, it's not going so good in this area. Like, how do you balance the quote unquote things that aren't going well with optimism? That's probably a bigger question than just healthy culture. But how do you do that, and how do you coach people to do that?
Well, I think people just want. I don't want to say the truth, because people can look at the truth in different ways. And same thing with facts. People can look at the facts in different ways. I think people just want you to just be straight with them. And so if things are going well, but over the horizon, it looks like there might be some storm clouds kind of gathering there, say that. If things are not going well, say that. I think a lot of leaders worry a little bit about explaining some of the reasons why some of these decisions are made, or are a little bit reluctant to look over the horizon, even if they can see things that employees can't, because they're afraid of kind of spooking people and chilling engagement and productivity and things like that. But the opposite, employees think the opposite way. I think employees totally understand that from time to time, businesses are going to go through a cycle, and it's going to be up and down and up and down, and they completely grasp that concept. And so at times when it looks like it's heading down, just be honest about that. We want to make sure that we are well positioned to continue to be competitive going forward, which might mean that there will be some people who can't go forward with us. That doesn't mean they're not valuable. That doesn't mean they're not good people. It means we can help them find whatever that next opportunity is. And if things change in 2 quarters or 3 quarters or whatever, maybe it's an opportunity for them to come back. But I think people just want you to be straight up with them, regardless of what that news is.
Yeah, that's so good. I love that. And those of you that are tuning in, I see some guests that are joining us here, Facebook, YouTube. We got Jason Anthoine in the building, and he's an expert in culture and internal communications at organizations. And you might be wondering, if you're watching on YouTube, our channel of over 12,000 subscribers, those of you that are tuning in from there, we talk a lot about icebreakers and gathering people in the same room, connecting the dots, making it fun, engaging. We've also shifted that to virtual interactive games and interactive activities as well. And those of you tuning in from Facebook, we're doing our very best to pump out as much content as we can that are helping people in the middle of this pandemic to live and lead at a higher level. That's really, really our passion. So I just want to say thank you that whether you're watching the replay or watching this live, if I'm looking over here, I'm checking out comments. I saw one come in, Sean. Can you scroll back up a little bit? We got Sean Specie. Can we hear your voice, Sean? Sean, is your mic on?
My mic is on.
There it is. Sean
and the
Specie.
camera is now on.
Oh, look at it. I'm
controlling everything.
He's controlling
back
the
here.
camera and his microphone, so you can cut my mic off. I love that. Emily right there, bring it up on the screen. There you go. Perfect. How do you communicate intentionally to a computer screen and make people feel known? That's a good one for you, Jason. What do you think?
So communicate intentionally through a computer screen. So that's kind of 2 pieces to that question. So communicate intentionally. Things like this type of technology, or Zoom, or Microsoft Teams, or whatever it is your platform might be. I can imagine, like 3 months ago, it would have been totally unusual for you to see the CEO of your organization sitting in their living room live streaming a town hall. And now it's become normal. It's become expected. And the good part about that is that now that leader feels like a human too. That leader is going through the same thing that everybody else is in the organization. And so that really humanizes the leadership. So anything you can do from a high-tech standpoint to increase those communications and connections like that, I think will make that feel more intentional. And then for helping people become more known, all of these platforms are an opportunity to introduce different voices in the organization. So for example, if you're doing a quick little town hall, once a week or once every other week with your senior leaders, why not try and do like a reverse town hall? So instead of the leaders presenting to the employees about what's going on, why don't you have the employees present to the leaders about what's going on? And that's an opportunity to get a whole lot of new voices in the same kind of conversation, but from a different perspective. So things like that, I think, really humanize the organization and allow you to take advantage of what these technologies can do.
The reverse town hall, is that a thing?
It's a thing. It's a thing. Yeah. I don't know that it's been copyrighted or trademarked, but it is a thing. And it's very powerful because normally it's one way and it's leaders to employees. But the more that can be a conversation rather than a presentation, that's an opportunity to strengthen those connections.
Yeah. So good. There's 2 things, just advice on our end and helping us. We have two programs we've introduced since the pandemic began. One is Spec Ops. So we have special operations projects we've never really worked on as specific as we had in the past, and we delegate team members to work on specific elements of our business and bringing those to the surface. That's really helped. Number 2 is develop task forces within our company, which is a certain task for a certain amount of time to accomplish, and that's really helped us. And speed of communication is important, but as things change, it gets more complicated. I feel like all the wires that were running this direction are now crossing in every single direction. How do you help from an internal comms perspective to sort of straighten some of those wires out? Are there anything that you've learned from folks that you've worked with to help them when they feel like their wires are crossed to get them uncrossed?
Exactly. So, a lot of times when I'm working with clients, they've got 2 or 3 sort of channels that they use: email and intranets, and maybe it's an app, or maybe it's digital signage or events. And they're like, we want to have like 5 or 6 more of these types of channels. And I always caution them in that, because that's not what employees experience when they're not at work. And so the concept is, how can work and how we communicate at work feel like what things are when they're not at work? So for example, when you're not at work, you follow certain people on Instagram, you have certain friends on Facebook, you subscribe to different things on Netflix or Hulu and whatever kind of direct mail or email that you get. You have total choice around that. The same thing needs to be true about all of these internal communications channels, so that if somebody really likes an app, get them on the app. If somebody really likes the intranet, get them on the intranet. And that doesn't mean you have to push all of your content around on all of these channels at once. It means some people prefer this and some prefer that. And so the more you can make that feel personalized and feel like what people do when they are not at work, the more likely it is for them to carry on that behavior and have it feel totally normal and natural when they are at work.
Yeah, and I like for people to sit down and actually log into the system and actually go to the place where it is and let's talk about it. Hey, send me a screenshot of something that didn't work. I think the practicality is getting more in. It's like, how do I turn my camera on Zoom? How do I turn my microphone on? So I think we can even dive into the minutia, which has helped, I think, bigger picture communication as well.
Yeah. Plus, I think a lot of the default is how can we push this communication out to our employees? And a lot of times employees want the ability to be able to pull it. And so I can't attend a certain thing at a certain time, or here are 15 emails that just came in the last 15 minutes that I really need to look at, but I don't have time because I'm working at home and my kids need to have lunch or I need to help them with their homework. So what are the ways that we can sort of shift time so that everything doesn't become a piece of content that needs immediate attention right that second? How can some of that become pull content so that people can get to it on their schedule without sort of being penalized for looking at it in a time shift?
Yeah, that's so good. All right, I got some fun questions for you, Jason. You ready?
Yeah, hit me.
Timberlake or Bieber?
Timberlake for sure.
Good answer. How about baseball or soccer?
Neither.
Okay.
Baseball's too slow and soccer doesn't have enough scoring.
Okay, what would you choose?
I like college football and I like IndyCar racing.
Okay.
A lot of action and who knows what might go on.
I like it. Another question is, have you ever been a celebrity DJ at a Waffle House?
As a matter of fact, I'm now a celebrity DJ at 2 Waffle Houses here in the Atlanta area. And so anybody who goes to Waffle House, most of them have jukeboxes there, which are connected to a TouchTunes app. And so the person who plays songs the most often gets regarded as the house DJ for that particular Waffle House location, and I am the house DJ for 2 of them. Thank you very much.
I love that it's not just one.
Right, it's 2. Yeah. Now I know they have 600 or so, and so I'm on a quest to be the house DJ for all of Waffle House.
If you could hit 10 by the end of the year, hopefully they open up soon again so we can go back. A couple more questions for you. What's your favorite app right now? Is there an app that maybe since the pandemic that you're using a lot more or been really functional for you?
Well, there's a couple of apps that I think are helpful just from understanding what's going on in the world. I love the content that's on certainly New York Times and Wall Street Journal apps about how all of this is impacting businesses. There's sort of a mini app that I've created off of a website that's St. John's University updates in real time around COVID and where the hotspots are and who's experiencing what, not just in the U.S., but globally, since a lot of my clients have global operations. That's a quick way to kind of see, sort of the results of where the pandemic is and in those different areas. I love that. I love anything that's related to how employees are posting their own content. So sometimes that's Instagram, sometimes it's Facebook, sometimes it's YouTube. I love hearing employee voice and their own experience of what's going on right now, not just what the brands think, but what their employees think.
Yeah, I love it. So those of you tuning in on Facebook, on YouTube, make sure you go check out Audacity online. That's AUDACITY.com. Go check out Audacity. They got some really cool things going on. I don't want to miss this final question. Did I miss it? Were you going to say something? Sorry.
Well, it's Audacity.com is a fantastic sound mixing software that you put on a laptop. But think Audacity.
I wanted to send them there. I wanted to send them there first to see that, and then after you go there,
that's right. That's right. They're going to owe me a lot of like clickbait kind of stuff because I send a lot of people to their site and then they come to mine first.
Like people you don't like, you could just send there saying, "Hey, if you want to learn more, just go to Audacity.com." You're never going to.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So I don't want to miss this final question, and I think it's an important one. It's something that at Elevate, we have a program called the Culture Foundation Blueprint, which really is a step-by-step video series, downloadable PDFs, something that we sell to help folks get a good foundation of their business. And we're getting a lot of people that are asking about that. Not that they don't have their culture figured out, but okay, how do I reset? How do I start again? So I'll throw this question at you. What should companies be doing to prepare for communicating with their team members as you head back to work and head back to their office spaces?
Well, I was talking with someone about that this morning, and to me, it feels like before all of this, there was work at the office and there was work at home, and people had kind of different rules and processes and regulations for those two categories. And then during this, some people went to work from home. A lot of frontline employees are still working in their same jobs while we go through this. And then as we move into whatever the next phase is, it's not going to be as simple as, oh, we're going to go back to work from work instead of work from home. It's going to be a constant mix of work from work and work from home. And depending on how large your organization is, that might change on a weekly or monthly basis, depending on how this virus comes back and the sort of impact that it's having in certain regions or states or even counties or cities. And so gone are the days when you could be work from work or work from home. Now it's both all the time at the same time. And then in some places, those dials are turned up or down, depending on what's going on. And so that means organizations are going to have to be really fluid and really comfortable operating in a lot of sort of murky areas where in the past it was very cut and dried. Now it's all that together all the time. And that's just going to require a lot of fluidity and empathy and imagination about what it is that we need to do going forward.
So good. Now, as mentioned, Macaroni Grill I went to this weekend. We passed by Chili's. Chili's was closed and Macaroni Grill was open. And I was thinking to myself, the waiters and waitresses at that Macaroni Grill have a different experience than even literally 50 feet away from where Chili's was.
Sure.
I call Chili's, but I've been calling restaurants just randomly to see, hey, when do you got dining room open? When is your dining room? Just to see what they would say. And there's one of my favorite restaurants that will go unnamed right now. And they said, it was a young lady who answered the phone. I said, hey, when is you guys' dining room open? She goes, if it were up to me, it'd be open right now. But it's not up to me. And I'm pretty frustrated. Our corporate has to tell us when it's open, and I don't know when that's going to be. And I'm like,
right.
Okay, that's probably a little bit more information than your corporate wanted me to know. But so anyway, I think there's we've got to get proactive in our communication. It's hard to get proactive when you don't even know what the information is.
Exactly. And I think that highlights something that I think is incredibly important for all brands, which is everything that they have always done forever, even before now, should be interpreted as hyper-local. But now, especially down to the individual, there will be people who aren't or are comfortable going back to work. Yeah. And so anything that experience feels like on the inside of the brand has to be hyper-local down to the individual. Same thing on the outside. There need to be hyper-local decisions that are made based on, what that particular area of the community is experiencing. You can't just have one size fits all anymore. It doesn't work.
Yeah, love that. Hey, I want to put up on the screen, Sean, if you'll toss up there, where do we find Jason? Right there, boom, Twitter. How much time do you spend on Twitter right now?
I was looking at a stat today about the different platforms and how many monthly users they have, and Twitter is like third from last on this long list of platforms. But I still spend a lot of time there. It's a great way to share a lot of content and highlight what others are doing. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn as well, posting different survey results and examples of best practices that other organizations are using as well. And then Instagram too, I think, is a great way to not just share content, but learn things and then connect with other people that are in your community. There are so many people who are focused on internal comms and culture and employee experience, and all of them are open to sharing all of that all the time. So they're not only is it a great way to share, but it's also a great way to learn. Yeah, for sure. And I think instead of the old communication of let's just post, it's the one-way communication going on those platforms to learn, I think is a good perspective. So I know that you spend a lot of time, like you said, on LinkedIn. We've got your website, thinkaudacity.com. Yeah. And for those that are tuning in, that are watching from Facebook or YouTube, please go support Jason's work. Go check out his stuff. Go follow him on the platforms.
And we are a huge fan of you, my friend. Appreciate you being
Brett,
on with
thank
us.
you.
Any closing thoughts? Any one final word? Do you want to sing us a song? I mean, what you got?
Well, I think I would not sing us a song, otherwise everybody will leave immediately. But what I would like to say is that right now, whatever it is that's next is totally undefined. And that is an opportunity for us as individuals, and that is an opportunity for our companies to redefine ourselves, reimagine ourselves. If we sit around and wait on that to be redefined or reimagined for us, we will be reimagined right out of business. So now is a time for us to rethink exactly who it is we are, what it is we want to do for ourselves and our customers, and make those decisions, and rather than being forced into someone else's decisions. Now's the time to do that. 3 months ago, we never would have had that opportunity. And now we do have that opportunity. So let's spend time thinking about what we could do if we could do anything.
Yeah. What we could do if we could do anything. And my friend, I believe you could do anything because your attitude. This is probably the 15th or 20th time I've either heard you speak or been around you. And every time I leave, just encouraged. So I appreciate your heart. I appreciate what you're up to. And those of you tuning in, I know you feel the same way. And so please go follow and support. And if we can do anything for you, Jason, let us know. And thanks for being live with us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity.
You got it, my friend. See you soon. All right. So we're tuning out, tuning in. We're done. Are we done, Sean? Am I still live?
You're still live.
I'm still on. Hey, that was Jason Anthoine. Seriously, go check him out. Super grateful he was on with us today. We're going to be having more experts in their fields joining us, really just to pump out as much as we can to encourage and provide hope during the pandemic and let you thrive beyond it. Because listen, I know right now is survival mode for a lot of us. How we're communicating, what we're communicating, we're going to pay the bills. All those things are important. But I want you just to have a little glimmer of the thrive when we come out of this. And I don't know when that'll be. I wish I was Nostradamus. I could tell you exactly what's going to happen next. I don't know, and neither do you. If you do, just comment in the chat. We'll be sure to listen. But I'm just super, super grateful that you would tune in, and we're going to do our very best to add value to each of you that come check out what we're up to. So God bless you guys. Have a fantastic Monday. We'll see you soon.